Hello, good morning. We will be discussing four topics today. First is the Philippine-European trade and investments. So from the 1940s to the 1950s, Philippines became a member of the European Common Market. So it's not true that it was just Marcos who started it. We have already started exploring yung European market as early as the 1940s. But I would agree that it was expanded during the time of Marcos. So trade with the countries in Europe increased by 5 times from 11 million to 68.6 million in the 1950s. One of our more important trading partners, Netherlands. Our exports in Europe includes copra, coconut, sugar, lumber, abaca, copper, and plywood. So, napakainit, di ba, ngayon ang issue ng polymer and yung ating use ng money, di ba, using the polymer. But actually, we are not the first ones to use it. Ginagamit na to ng, I understand, Hong Kong, Papua New Guinea, yun yung mga ilang nauna. Pero tayo, yung supply natin ng abaca was also being important sa Euro sa pag-print nila ng money in early years until so isa to sa mga important nating sinusupply sa yung ginagamit na abaca for the printing ng paper ng money. Okay, so other ating namang ini-import from them is the machineries, the mineral fuels, and base metals. Okay, so at that time, 27 yung member states ng EU. Ang purpose ng ating trade with them is to seek a guarantee. Meron tayong agreement for them to guarantee the free movement of goods, capital, services. So ang EU is a single market. So ibig sabihin, kung whatever it is that you will offer sa isang country, you will offer it to the rest of the members of the EU members. Okay. So, West Germany and UK, nag-increase tayo ng trade in the 1960s. Main European trading partners natin, West Germany. Makikita nyo na 1960s because hati pa yung West and East Germany. So, lagi may mention ng West Germany to refer to the part of Germany na ally ng the rest of Europe. Okay, so major exports, same pa rin, abaca fiber, canned pineapple, tobacco, cigars, and logs. General po in 17% ang share ng ating total Philippine trade ay sa Europe. Okay, nagkaroon ng remarkable growth noong 1970s. Export partner natin kasama yung Benelux. This is Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg. Tsaka West Germany and 18.9, tsaka UK. Okay, 1980s, tumaas pa. Yung Benelux pa rin remain our top partner in the in Europe. So this time we started exporting semiconductor devices, electronic microcircuits. So Philippine purchases from Europe naman consists mainly of aircraft, electrical components, medicinal and pharmaceutical products, watch parts, and milk. So, okay. So, yan yung Benelux pa rin ang pinaka mataas. So, nag-increase naman ng bumaba lang na 1985 and 1989 kasi itong time din na to medyo may economic sa Europe because ng issue ng sa Germany. Okay. So, makikita nyo dyan na yung USSR, wala pa tayong trade nung mga time na ito. 1974, 1975, 1984, 1989. Okay, so among ASEAN, the Philippines is EU's least important trading partner. That is the reality. So, pangdagdag lang tayo actually. Ang pinakamalaki nila talagang trading partner is Thailand and Malaysia. So, tayo hindi naman. Nandun tayo sa bandang dulo. Tapos later, makikita nyo sa trend, nag-e-expand sa Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Tayo na pag-iiwanan tayo because of so many reasons. Napakataas ng cost ng electricity dito, sobra yung traffic. So, lahat ng mga problema natin, it actually affects our capacity to compete with other neighboring ASEAN. So, while we have a good relationship with the Asian countries at hope we wishes to strengthen yung ating partnership with ASEAN, actually competitor natin sila when it comes to other trading partners. Diba? Kasi pare-pareho tayo ng products eh. Pareho tayo ng products ng Malaysia, pareho tayo ng products ng Vietnam, ng Thailand. So whoever can produce more at a lesser price, sila yung pine-prefer ng European market. So, okay, but in the 1990s, EU has become the largest investor in the Philippines. UK, Luxembourg, Netherlands, France, and Germany, they remain to be we remain to have very close relationships with these countries. The fact that they have embassies here, meaning we are important to them, but not so important as our other ASEAN neighbors. Okay, so 1970s, only 1.1% of the total exports to Europe went to Eastern Europe. 8.2% of the Philippine exports went to Europe, whereby USSR, yan, 8.2. 1980s, ito pa rin yung ating mga ni-export. Crude coconut, abaca, citrus fruits, canned pineapple, footwear, and garments. If you had been to places like sa south natin, nandun yung mga pineapple plantations natin. Most of those pineapples hindi actually napupunta sa Philippine market. Na pang-export talaga sila. Okay. Philippine businessmen face problems which are not common in PH-US trade. European market is considered as unfamiliar markets for the Filipino products, distribution, market system. Europe has higher and stricter requirements for health, quality, safety, and environmental standards. Hindi po US ang pinakamataas. Europe talagang pinakamataas na standard. Kaya, di ba, you've been hearing the past yung linag yung pancit canton because marami talaga silang listahan ng mga ingredients that should not be found in some of the goods. So pag nakita lang nila yun regardless of pakin yun. Na-mute ba? Okay, so napakahigpit ng kanilang food and drug policies. So, yan. Meron din problem sa language and culture. Not everyone in Europe speaks English. So, 'di ba? So merong barrier, may language barrier. Pakimute, sino ba Okay. And may high competition from new member states like Central and Eastern European states. Kasi yung new member na to like other European states, sila rin nagpo-produce na sila ng mga goods na dating kinukuha sa Philippines. Okay, so wala rin tayong long-standing political relationship with the European countries. So, isa to sa mga naging nakitang problem. Okay, from 1950s to 1990s, Europeans have steadily accounted the 14% of the total tourists in the Philippines. Majority nito French, British, Germans. There are few visitors from Eastern Europe while nearly half of the total Europeans were from Western Europe. If you have not checked yung data ng mga tourists, nasa Southeast Asia, nasa tulo tayo, nasa 8 or 9 lang tayo. Ang most visited dito is Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia. So yung mga places that has the same tourist attractions like us, diba? So pag ang influx ng mga tourists is during the months na winter sa Europe. So dapat mga nasa period yan ng November to February. So, yun. Malayo pa tayo sa mga most visited places dito sa Southeast Asia. Problem nila is the security, yung safety and security of the tourists, at saka yung heavy traffic. And most of our roads then hindi pa ganun ka-develop. So they prefer other countries na mas safer for the tourists. Okay, so in the 1950s, British continued to be the biggest population of European visitors. Spanish visitors increased by almost 327% in the 70s but declined during the 80s. Okay, Filipino migrant workers in the 1970s to 1974, there are just about 13,189 OFWs. You can see the number now, nasa 900 yung documented. I'll post mamaya yung number. Filipinos prefer working in the Middle East during this time. Yung mga OFWs ay nasa France, Greece, Netherlands, Switzerland, and UK. Okay, so yung Europeans Asia policy is to give aid to eradicate poverty, to increase trade relationships. They also offer scholarships for Filipinos, security improvement for the ASEAN partners, and peace and development for Mindanao, fight ng climate change. These are the important Asia policy ng European Union. Okay, so in the recent years, during the time of Duterte, nagsour yung ating relationship because of our president. He is the only one to blame. Diba? So the EU was very critical of his anti-drug policy. Na sinuklian naman ni Duterte ng sabi niya, okay, puputulin na natin yung natin, we will get out of alis tayo ng ICC, hoping to evade yung mga criminal responsibilities niya. So, the issue of human rights is very important with Europe. Lagi niyang nilalagay yan sa kanyang mga aid. So that you will respect the 27 covenants. I will show it to you later. So nakalagay yun lagi sa mga niya. Okay, so yung EU Parliament also express yung kanilang dismay tsaka disgust actually sa charges that was filed against Maria Ressa tsaka sa ginagawa sa mga journalists in general in the Philippines. They also made a comment regarding the incarceration of De Lima. In fact, EU lawmakers even told Duterte to free the senator. So, ang sinabi ni Duterte, no, we are rejecting your 318 million in EU aid. Mind you, pag nabigay ang EU, this is aid. Hindi siya loan, unlike what is being offered by China. And of course, lahat ng aid meron siyang requirement. Ang requirement naman ng EU, ito makikita nyo. Okay, so anong requirement ng EU when it grants European aid? Ang requirement ng EU is that you comply with the relevant GSP GSP plus conventions. Ano ba yung GSP? Ano ba itong GSP? Yung GSP is this is the preferential status given to European trade partners. So when before you are given GSP plus status or before you are made part of the GSP plus, because this GSP plus is a list of trading partners who will be given preferential treatment. May condition siya. Yung condition is that the Philippines must implement 27 international conventions that it has ratified. Ano yung mga 27 conventions na yun that it has ratified? Dami ko nakabukas. Here are the list here are the list of the GSP plus conventions that we have ratified, meaning kailangan natin i-ratify ito para mag-qualify tayo sa grant. Yan. Convention on the Prevention of Genocide, International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, ICESC, or the International Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane, and Degrading Treatment and Punishment, Convention on the Rights of the Child, Convention Compulsory Labor, Freedom of Association, Protection of the Right to Organize. So, you see, Europe is so heavy on human rights. Sila yung primary na nagpo-push ng human rights. So, they make it a requirement na if you would want to get our aid, you have to comply with all these. Diba? So, meron yan. Aside from that, meron pa mga conventions related to the environment and governance principles. So, meron tayong Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, yan, Basic Convention Control of Transboundary Movements of Hazardous Waste, Kyoto Protocol, na Convention on Climate Change, United Nations Singles Convention on Narcotics Drugs, yan. Tapos, ang pinakamabigat is yung United Conventions Against Corruption. This is basically just a commitment of the government that they will run it properly. That these are requirements before you can get a loan from EU. Ganon sila. They are so big on transparency, they're so big on human rights. So talagang yung anti-drug campaign talaga ni Duterte irked them. Okay, so how important ba is Europe? Can we just say na, sige, hindi namin kailangan ng grant mo and we can survive on our own. We have other trading partners. This is what the Department of Foreign Affairs actually was trying to tell Duterte. That our relationship with Europe is very important. Okay, so because we have a trading relationship with Europe, we are part of the what I mentioned as GSP plus. So what does it mean? So GSP plus, when you are given a GSP plus status, you are given a lower tax to sell your goods in Europe. Diba? When you sell your goods to other countries, they put in actually a tax there so that they can protect their domestic products. If the tax that is put to our product is much lower, then our product will become competitive. So imagine, we are selling halimbawa canned pineapple. Si Indonesia is also selling canned pineapple. If only Indonesia has the GSP plus benefits, then yung canned pineapple niya will be sold at a lesser price than our canned pineapple. Ganon ka-importante yung GSP plus. Diba? Plus the European Union kasi, it is just one market. Ibig sabihin, if your goods are not allowed in one country in EU, then the rest will follow because they only follow one policy, one trading policy. So in 2008, we still retain our GSP plus preferential status. So even yung sa threat ni Duterte na yon. So looking at the data, meron tayong 6,274 Philippine products that could enter Europe duty-free. No tax. Ibig sabihin kung magkano yung nilabas na cost na yun, wala nang ipinapatong yung Europe o yung European Union. So, it makes our product, we can sell our product in the European market at a lower price, therefore it becomes more competitive. Okay, how much ba are we getting from this? Sabi nung meron daw record high na 120 billion pesos or 2 billion euros worth of Philippine exports that benefited in GSP Plus in 2017. Most of these are food and agricultural products. So nag-increase yon ng 21% from the previous years. Yung largest increase in 2017 were registered for animal products, fish and related products, prepared foodstuffs, edible fruits, automotive parts, leather, textiles, and footwear. So EU is now our second largest export partner after Japan. Mas mataas pa yung EU kesa sa US and kesa sa China. Okay? So that is how important Europe is. So ito yung data ng past 2014 to 2017. Yung mga GSP plus preferentials natin is nasa 26.57% ang itinaas nung 2016 compared to 2014 So okay, so based on figures daw, Philippines and Pakistan, they are the biggest beneficiaries ng trade preferences ng GSP. Okay, so yung based dun sa 2017 number, 120 billion ang nakukuha natin na worth ng export natin sa European Union. So these are good if you would want to read more on this, you can and I will also upload. I have also downloaded yung impact. This is stop ko lang po. This is also a good read. Ay, lumabas. I will upload this sa ating the impact of EU investment on Philippine economy and employment. So not just in the Philippine economy but also in Philippine employment. Okay, so based sa number down ng UNCTAD figures and EU foreign direct investment flow in the 2013, it has reached 189 billion pounds outflow, and inflows were equally impressive at 185 billion. So EU is the largest investor in the world and in the Philippines. That is the 2013 number. So altogether now, the European companies employ 450,000 Filipinos. And compared sa Middle East and in the United States, their salary is much higher. So it's not just they are employing Filipinos, they're paying the Filipinos higher than other countries. So yung investments is also created spillover effects, including a generation of high quality jobs and technology transfer. So more than that, ang European Union also offers a scholarship in Filipinos so they can study abroad. Okay, I have uploaded this in, I will upload this in the So what's the future of EU and Philippine relation? Okay. So what's the future of of the European Union and Philippine relations under the presidency of Ferdinand Marcos? Well, there is a commentary that that Marcos is favored not favored ng as the winner. They would rather that Robredo, a champion of human rights, win the elections. However, since that has happened na, they're expecting naman that the EU and Philippine relationship will improve. This is in comparison with the EU and Philippine relationship under Duterte. Of course, it will not help that the EU is very much aware that Marcos is the son of the former dictator and that it is true that their family pillaged the Philippine the coffers of the Philippine government. So sa kanila walang issue yung wala silang issue sa truth. Alam nila that the Marcoses are corrupt people. I'm telling you now, aside from the fact na galit sila sa mga human rights violators, galit na galit din ang Europe sa mga corrupt officials. So, I'm not so positive that the EU will EU will invest more in the Philippines during the time of Marcos. But I'm hoping that they'll have a much more better mas civil kausap ito si Marcos than his predecessor. Okay, so I can see Taoy raising her hand.
Hello po, attorney.
Yes.
Dagdag ko lang po, nung July 15 po kahapon, even yung Pennsylvania representative po na si Susan Wild, nililimit po, parang pinropose niya po yung paglimit ng US assistance sa PNP po natin. Kasi yung Philippines po pala ang may pinakamalaking natatanggap na security assistance from US since 2015 po, based on data ng US Embassy na umaabot po ng $1 billion. So dun po sa pinopropose nung representative po, magkaroon daw po muna ng amendment on US National Defense Authorization Act na ilimit ng US yung assistance nila para po mag-comply and ma-met ng PNP yung series of human rights requirements nila. Ilan po din yung number one, yung pag-probe and prosecuted members of PNP who violated human rights. So parang same po sa European Union po na siguro po with what happened sa termino po ni Duterte, siguro po tinatry nila na mas malimit po yung chances or yung opportunity po ng PNP or magamit po nung president ngayon yung PNP for another violations po ng human rights.
Yes.
Ayun lang.
Sabi ko nga sa inyo, walang issue sa Europe sa truth. They know, they are much aware of they are very much aware of what the Marcos family did, and they know that talagang may brutalities that had happened in the 20 plus years of Marcos presidency. So no one is expecting any immediate improvement in the EU-Philippine relations. Pero yun nga, matitemper yung brutality during the 30s drug war, that is expected. But if there will be no changes in the key officials in the military and in the police force, then you cannot expect that drastic changes in that will automatically become human rights poster children na yun. Diba? Kasi wala ka namang pinalitan. Nakita mo, inikot-ikot lang niya yung mga tao. Plus, it did not help talaga na si Marcos was not so clear on his policy intentions. Diba? Except for unity na ginagawa na nating joke, wala naman siya talagang clear policy. And it's very reflective dun sa mga ginagawa niya ngayong mga appointments. Wala naman talagang key difference sa mga appointees. Plus, of course, meron pa yung political historical baggage because Duterte, Sara, was elected. So you cannot expect na they will have a full-blown investigation on the Duterte's human rights violation during his time. So kaya if we will be, if EU will give us a cold shoulder, if EU will not be so giving sa Philippines in the next 6 years, that is expected because yun nga, isa sa important nila is yung transparency, tsaka may full commitment sa pag-respect sa human rights. So that's very important to them. It's different if you just sign the conventions. Diba? Madali lang to sign the convention eh. Pero sa mga but if you would want to continue dealing with Europe, you have to prove to them that you are really committed into implementing these conventions. So, yan. So we are not expecting so much yung I'm not expecting too much from this government, but hopefully medyo mag-improve kumpara naman doon sa sinundan niya. But yung same na warm na binigay ng Europe during the time of Aquino administration, we should not expect that to happen. Okay, so that's it for are you still raising your hands, Taoy? Or nakalimutan mo lang ibaba?
Nakalimutan lang po ibaba.
Okay. So, meron pa ba kayong you would like to add sa Philippine-European relations? We'll go to another topic. Okay, short lang. Papasadahan lang natin sandali yung, ano ba to? Okay. Sabi, I mentioned kanina, EU is just second sa mga aids na natatanggap natin. The largest that we are getting is from Japan. So let's discuss one of our more important trading partners, which is, tara ko na lang muna to, ang daming nakabukas. Okay, so based mismo sa record ng Department of Finance, Japan is still the top Philippine bilateral official development assistance partner in 3 administrations. So that is from the presidency of Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, Aquino, and Duterte. Yung total ng kanilang loans contracted during this past administration is 14.139 billion. So yung Japan's ODA from 2001 to 2020 accounted for 72% of Philippines' total bilateral loan portfolio of $19.656 billion. So, imagine, 72% from Japan. Kasi ang Japan, pag nangako, ibinibigay. Hindi katulad na China, nangangako lang, nire-reap lang yung mga benefits ng kanilang promises, pero hindi naman talaga nagre-release ng pera. You have heard it from the Department of Transportation and Communication, di ba? Yung mga promises na build na is unfunded. Supposedly, it should be funded by China raw. Pero wala namang nire-release, walang mga release na pera. Pero in Japan, when they promise for as long as we can comply with our commitments, we can comply with the requirements that they are asking, then it will be released. This is part of their commitment under the Fukuda Doctrine. Remember, as a way of reparation, kasi officially, from 1952 to 1974 lang sila magbabayad ng kanilang preparation. Pero may mga tinatawag sila mga quasi-reparation. So, ibig sabihin, if they would want, if they still continue to aid yung mga countries that they had damaged during the Second World War, but they are not calling it reparation na. They are calling it aids. So, these based on the report ng Japan JICA, Cooperation Agency. Nakikita nyo pa to, yung bago kong Philippine JICA? Lumalabas na ba yung Philippine JICA?
Hindi pa po
Sige, stop ko nga yung hindi lumalabas. Okay, so tignan natin kung saan napupunta yung mga rolling plan nila for the Philippines. We are one of the top beneficiaries ng mga ng Japanese aids. So these are some of the projects that they had where they had assisted us. Nakikita nyo? The Mega Manila Subway Project. Okay, the North-South Commuter Railway, the Malolos to Tutuban. This is LA, Loan Agreement. Detailed design study ng Malolos-Clark Railway Project. So ito yung pa-northbound na railway project, Mega Manila Subway Project, Metro Manila Subway Project, Phase 1, Metro Manila Subway Project, Technical Assistance to Philippine Railway Institute, Data Collection Survey ng MRT3 System, Preparatory para sa C3 Project, Arterial Road Bypass Project, Upgrading and Preservation Project, Central Luzon, Link Expressway Project, Enhanced Mass Transit Systems. Aside from that, meron din silang mga, aside from mga infrastructure projects, meron din silang mga sa education assistance. So ito mga ASEAN University Network, ASEAN Engineering Education Development, meron silang enhancements ng customs operations. So nag-invest din sila sa training ng Plus meron din silang mga projects that is naka-involve sa environment. Alam ko meron yun, yung flood risk management, disaster risk reduction management, thematic training. So, meron din silang projects na nakafocus on agricultural improvement. Yan. So, meron silang advisor on agribusiness development, irrigation, advisor on agricultural project development, feasibility survey for cacao production in Mindanao. Yun. So, may mga agricultural din. Meron ding about improvement ng safety through eradication ng mga common problems like problems on illegal drugs, TB control program, yan. So maraming mga klase ng mga projects. So meron din sila para nakafocus naman on peace in Mindanao, Bangsamoro projects, yan. Bangsamoro, technical assistance sa grassroots project in Mindanao. So yung nakikita nyo kanina GA, that's grant aid. Pag itong mga GA na to, grant aid, ibig sabihin they are not loans, they're just dole outs. Pero yung mga grant aid na yan, dapat specific yung mga purpose na pinagagamitan. Yung mga nakita natin kanina, yung sinabi ko LA, those are loan aid, GA, grant aid, nasa pa iba. Grant aid for fishery, meron silang food aid, meron din silang mga emergency relief para dun sa mga, ano naman, yung mga brought about by disasters. So these are the projects funded by Japan in the Philippines. You can see this in the JICA website. In sa Philippine JICA website, pindutin nyo lang yung rolling plans nila. So makikita nyo yung focus. So the JICA is not just assisting the Philippines, it also assists other Southeast Asians which focus on the countries that were that suffered during the World War II. Okay. So part ng policy ng Japan is yung tinatawag nating Fukuda Doctrine. Yung Fukuda Doctrine, yung policy nila that Japan pledged to the world that they will be committed to peace, they would never become a military power, and that Japan will build a relationship with mutual confidence and trust in the Southeast Asian countries. So you know, tinupad naman ng Japan yan, di ba? Except nung during time na that's why Shinzo Abe was very isa to sa mga important Japanese Prime Minister because medyo nag-pivot yung Japan dun sa kanilang Fukuda policy when they started again rebuilding their military alliances. Nag-sign sila ulit ng agreement with the United States. But you can understand that those decisions were brought about by the constant from China and the North Korea. During that time kasi ito yung mga nagpalipad ng palipad yung North Korea ng mga testing niya, diba? And some of the remnants are falling on Japanese waters. So they cannot just sit back and just watch North Korea do their stuff. So they have to do something, and that includes reinforcing yung kanilang military alliance with the United States. And yun. So that's why, because of yung constant skirmishes with China and North Korea, we are becoming more and more important with Japan. Diba? So it's important kasi when something happens, we are one of the nearest countries except for Taiwan and South Korea. So they are expecting that we will also come to their aid in the same way that they are being coming to our aid whenever disasters happen to us. So, yes, kung ang tanong is yung build project ba ni Duterte ay funded by Japan, nakikita niyo yung lahat naman ng mga in-ribbon cut nila is funded by Japan. Wala silang walang galing sa pera talaga ng gobyerno. Those are all from ODA, Japanese ODA. Okay, but like European Union, napaka-strict ng Japan sa kanilang mga ODA. They require yung government to sign a transparency agreement. Because, di ba, what happened in during the time of Marcos, wherein ginamit pa ng ginamit ng Marcos administration yung pera na funded yung mga para sa mga projects that are funded by Japan for their mas nagigpit sila sa mga ODA nila sa Philippines. So aside from commitment from the Congress to always put in the yearly budget yung commitment to pay dun sa mga loans, nakalagay yan. Kaya meron tayong laging portion sa ating annual budget na for debt servicing. Part yun lagi ng commitment natin. So, ang Japan is magpapaloan siya and then magbibigay siya ng pera. Pero yung requirement niya para sa pagbibigay ng pera o yung sa mga aid, laging nakadikit yung commitment that you will also pay yung whatever it is that we have loaned you. Yung utang ay utang, yung bigay ay bigay. Diba? So, kaya napaka-mahirap umutang sa Japan because ang dami rin nila mga requirements. Isa sa mga requirements nga nila for their projects is yung sustainability ng mga projects, meaning the project should be able to finance for itself. So that will ensure that the loan will be paid. So kaya they're investing heavily on infrastructure. Tapos yung infrastructure will be able to infrastructure project na yun will be may magkakaroon ng return ng investment in 30, 40, or 50 years. Depende dun sa loan agreement. So yung ating pagbabayad, when we use those roads, nagbabayad tayo nagbabayad tayo, di ba, ng mga toll fees whenever we use those infrastructure. O kaya kung airport man yan, nagbabayad tayo ng travel taxes. So these payments, yun yung ginagamit natin for payment ng debt. That was yung mga debts na nakuha to finance those projects. So very important na ma-manage ng maayos itong mga projects at hindi pinapahawak sa mga people because may commitment ka na kailangan mag-return yung invest nila within certain period of time. So kung hindi mamamanage na maayos itong mga supposedly income generating na mga infrastructures, then hindi tayo makakapagbayad sa ating mga nag-finance ng project na yun. Okay, so sara ko lang to para Okay, last time na nagdi-discuss tayo ng West Philippine Sea, I keep on mentioning mga technical terms sa like archipelagic doctrine, the baselines, without really explaining to you what those terms mean. So mas madali mag-explain kasi when meron tayong illustration. So can you now see my screen? Okay, so law of the sea. So yung UNCLOS, it is a body of treaty rules and customary norms that governs the use of the sea, the exploitation of resources, and exercise of jurisdiction over maritime regimes. So branch pa rin siya ng international project, international political law. So jump na ako dito sa archipelago. Okay, so okay, so archipelago. It is important that we know this because Philippine is an archipelago. We know an archipelago is a group of islands. Same pa rin yung definition na ginagamit sa UNCLOS. They're interconnected by waters and other natural features which are so closely interrelated that such islands, waters, and natural features form an intrinsic geographical, economic, and political entity for which historically have been regarded as such. Yun yung definition na archipelago. So, Philippines is an archipelagic state. We are using the straight baseline method. So, how do you do the straight baseline method? We locate the outermost points of the outermost islands and dry reefs, and then we connect the points. So, ito yung example. So, ano yung outermost points? If you will look at ito nandito tayo sa blue lines. Yung outermost points natin is the outermost island. Diba? You locate the outermost island in Batanes, and then you connect it to the outermost points of the country down to Palawan, up to Tawi-Tawi, then pabalik. Then you can draw straight baselines. So itong blue line na to, ito yung baselines. So, itong nasa loob ng baseline na yan, they are archipelagic waters. Yung archipelagic waters, ang treatment dyan is like the treatment of a landmass. So as lahat ng nasa loob ng straight baseline natin ay considered as our archipelagic waters, meaning hindi rin pwedeng gumamit dyan ng right of sea passage. So as if part yan ng landmass natin. So malaking water na to, separating Zamboanga to Palawan, dun sa Sulusi na to, hindi ito, ang treatment dito sa international law is like landmass, kahit pa consisting siya of tawag dyan, archipelagic waters. So yung 12 nautical miles from the baseline is the territorial sea. 24 nautical miles from the baseline is the contiguous zone. And 200 nautical miles, itong blue na to, from the baseline is the exclusive economic zone. That's why it is very important that we determine the baseline because itong lahat ng sukat nito ng mga maritime regimes, archipelagic waters, territorial sea, contiguous zone, exclusive economic zone, ang tawag dyan, ang point of determination niyan lahat is the baseline. Okay? So meron, aside from the juridical continental shelf ng 200 nautical miles from the baseline, meron pa tayong tinatawag na extended continental shelf na 350 nautical miles from the baseline ulit. Continental shelf and the extended continental shelf only applies kung wala pang neighboring adjacent country. Pero kung meron na din, hati lang kayo dun sa kung hindi kakayanin yung 200 nautical miles na continental shelf tsaka EEZ. So, lampasan na lang natin yan. Okay. Meron tayong, when you sign a treaty at may provision ka ng treaty doon or ng convention na you do not want to be applied to you, nagsusulat tayo ng tinatawag na reservation. So sa UNCLOS, meron tayong reservation. Ito yung when it comes to the determination of the territorial sea. Kasi sa atin, ang definition natin ng territorial sea, we claim that the territorial sea extends to water that is around, between, and connecting the islands of the archipelago regardless of their breadth and dimension. Di ba yun nakalagay sa Constitution nyo? Di ba nakalagay sa 1987 Constitution, the waters around, between, and connecting the islands of the archipelago form part of the internal water of the Philippines. So yun yung nakalagay natin. Ang treatment natin sa waters around, between, and connecting the islands of the archipelago, ang treatment natin doon are internal waters. Ang treatment ang definition ng internal water ang treatment ng waters na yon sa international law ay territorial sea. Magkaiba kasi ang territorial sea sa internal waters. Ang internal waters ay ang treatment dyan is like land mass. So ibig sabihin ikaw lang may exclusive right na hindi lang exclusive right. Meron kang jurisdiction dun sa portion na yun such that you will not allow innocent sea passage and ano. Ang territorial sea ay pwedeng i-allow ang sea lane passages pag more than 3 nautical miles ang distansya ng islands from each other. Yung distansya ng Palawan to Sulu Sea is more than 3 nautical miles. So kung susundin natin yung definition ng UNCLOS ng territorial sea, magkokontradikto dun sa definition natin ng internal waters natin. Yung internal waters natin will become territorial sea kung gagamitin natin yung definition ng territorial sea ng UNCLOS. That's why nung dinadraft yung UNCLOS, we have expressed a reservation dun sa portion na yon, dun sa how they define the territorial sea. Kasi ang claim natin dun is that these internal waters, the waters around between and connecting the islands of the archipelago are actually our historic waters. And for so long a time, we have been exercising right over these waters to the acquiescence of everyone, every state or every nation. Diba? Ngayon lang naman kasi na nagkaroon ng super powerful sila mga na kaya nila marating yung mga tubig na dati naman ay tayo lang yung nangingista, tayo lang exclusive lang sa mga Filipinos yung Ngayon nakakaabot na kasi sila roon. So they would also want to introduce, especially itong mga lugar na nasa pagitan ng Palawan tsaka ng Sulu. So we have expressed a reservation doon, so nakasulat yung ating doon. Okay, we have signed the Law of the Sea Convention in 1982. It was entered into force in November 16, 1994. Okay, kanina ko pa binabanggit yung sea lane passage. Ang tagal na, wait lang. Hanapin ko na lang yung part na yun. Okay, so ito yung okay. Okay, yung archipelagic sea lane passages, just like what the name suggests, ito yung dinadaanan ng mga ships. So magde-designate ang archipelagic state ng mga archipelagic sea lanes na pwedeng gamitin ng mga commercial and other maritime mode of transportation. So, kasama pati yung mga aircraft carrier. So, archipelagic sea lane passages means the right of navigation and overflight in the normal mode for the purpose of continuous and expeditious transit. Archipelagic sea lane passage may be exercised through the routes normally used for international navigation. So, what do you mean by normal? Ang sabi rito is normal normal mode. So normal mode is yung submarine, they are submerged in water, di ba? Yun yung normal mode nila. Okay, so ito yung mga example. So, ang Indonesia, meron siyang ginagamit na sea lane passage between Lombok Strait. Yan. So, pwedeng gamitin yung Lombok Strait, pati dito sa Nusa Penida. Yan. Ito mga example lang mga sea lane passages ng Indonesia. Okay, so internationally, meron tayong mga designated ASLs or archipelagic sea lane passages. So ito yung mga ginagamit ng buong mundo. Yan. Ito sa Japan. Papunta sa Indonesia. Okay, so what happens to the Philippines? Kung kailangan natin mag-designate ng archipelagic sea lane passage, ano naman ang dinesignate natin na archipelagic sea lane passage sa atin? We have designated 2 sea lane passage. One is from Cebu to Mindanao Strait and another is from Surigao Strait through Balabac. So, itsura na yan. So, ito mga heavy na line na to, ito yung mga designated na mga sea lane passages natin. So, itong papasok ng Mindoro, palabas ng Palawan, merong pwedeng pumasok from Indonesia. Instead na iikot sa gilid, pwedeng dumaan straight sa gitna ng Sulusi, palabas ng gitna to ng Palawan, yan, Palawan at so pwede dyan. Ito yung mga designated natin. But they would still want to add another. Yung isang nire-request nila, meron pa tayong ASL sa north, dito sa bandang sa may Batanes, isa rin yung archipelagic sea lane passage. Ito yung mga sea lane passages natin. May isa pa silang pinopropose. Gusto nilang magdagdag ng archipelagic sea lane passage na dadaan ng Verde Island. So from Batangas, palabas ng Quezon sa Lubang Island, yun ang isa nilang pinopropose. Ayaw pumayag ng Pilipinas na magkaroon ng archipelagic sea lane passage dyan sa Verde Island because this is the center of marine shorefish biodiversity. And it will destroy yung ecosystem dun sa lugar na yun. So now, nagbabago yung mga ruta, especially dahil sa pagkatunaw ng mga ice caps. We are expecting na magdadagdagan ng mga archipelagic sea lane passages, especially sa north. Hindi na magiging ganun ka-busy yung mga dating ruta na ginagamit like the Suez Canal and so magkakaroon ng mga alternative routes, mas iikli yung mga navigation. So yan, those are just samples of the archipelagic sea lane passages. Another topic pa that I would like to discuss is may pili na lang ako sapagkat mahaba yung topic ng Okay, last topic on yung baseline. Ay, sayang. Wait lang. Ayaw lumabas. Ito pa pala, easy pa pala. Ba't yun? Ano tayo nun? Ayaw lumabas na isa. Ito na lang muna. Exclusive economic zone. So, lagi nating naririnig that we have right over the West Philippine Sea because it is within our exclusive economic zone. But what do you mean by exclusive economic zone? Exclusive economic zone is the area beyond and adjacent to the territorial sea. This extends to 200 nautical miles from the baseline. Okay, ang rule is the coastal state has sovereign rights for the purpose of exploring and exploiting, conserving and managing the natural resources in the exclusive economic zone. So we are the only ones who has the right to exploit, conserve, manage all the natural resources that can be found there. Okay? So ano yung mga resources na yun? This includes living and non-living resources. So, is it required that we grant other states access to living resources? Yes. Una kasi, the Philippines must first identify our capacity to harvest the living resources there. If we have the capacity, then we can only, if we have the capacity to harvest it, then hindi na natin, we will exclude all other states. Pero kung more than what we need, yung mga mineral resources or resources that can be found there, merong lalabas na surplus. Then we can allow them, the other states, to share from the surplus of the allowable catch. Pero does it involves every state? Lahat ba sila? Halimbawa, ang kailangan lang natin is 200 tons ang kayang i-produce ng area within our EEZ ay mga nasa 400 tons. So, do we allow all other states na to just go there and catch whatever it is that we cannot gather? The answer is no. Dahil meron tayong tinatawag na preference when it comes to EEZ. Ang preference is only for areas that are within the region. Yun yung una. Dapat within the region muna yung kukuha. So yung mga nearby countries lang muna. Next is yung mga tinatawag natin mga geographically disadvantaged states. Yung wala talaga silang access to water. So meron din mga prioritization even dun sa pag-allow ng other states to explore resources in the exclusive economic zone if the coastal state cannot if they can consume everything that can be found in the EEZ. Okay, so coastal state may also regulate the fishing by nationals within the EEZ. Katulad nito, pwede magbigay ng licensing to other fishing vessels. Itong licensing na to, not only involves yung fishing vessels that are of the same national or fishing vessels ng other nationals or ng nationals ng other states. So, licensing of fishermen, determining the species which may be caught and fixing the quotas. Marami sa mga EEZ maraming mga species that can be found in our EEZ are endangered species. So pwede rin tayong mag-determine na okay, you can catch these types of species lang but do not catch these types of species, especially those which are endangered already. Okay, so I mentioned kanina na preference is given to landlocked states or yung mga geographically disadvantaged state so that they may also share in the catch if it is beyond the needs of the coastal states. So yan. Sa atin sa Asia, ano ba yung mga landlocked countries that can share in the whatever it is that we cannot consume from our EEZ? Can you give an example of mga geographically disadvantaged states sa Asia?
Mongolia po.
Mongolia wala silang water, yes. So kung if they would want to share in our EEZ, pwede, 'di ba? So kumbaga kung mag-share pa tayo, hindi pa nga sa China natin i-share yun. Because they're not considered as GDS or landlocked state, di ba? So they also have a vast water resource. So hindi siya priority kung tayo man ay mag-share with other countries in the region.
Ano daw
So
nangyari
baseline nyo lang sana para makita nyo lang yung itsura ng
UTI.
Ayan, may UTI daw si Ivan. Sorry to hear that, Ivan. Okay, so yun na lang. Ayaw mag-project nung... Try ko sara. Isa pa. I do not know if I was able to explain talaga sa inyo ba't ganito to? Nakakainis talaga. Ba't ito yung lumalabas? Yan. Okay. Kanina I mentioned that we are using the straight baseline method. We are using it because hindi naman hindi diretso yung ating mga baseline, di ba? Yung ating mga coastal ay mga cracked. Katulad nito, look at figure 1B. Di ba? Marami pang mga crack, marami mga maliliit na mga islets sa gilid ng sa gilid ng ating mga gilid ng ating mga coastline. So it's impossible really to draw a normal baseline. So we are using the straight baseline method. So we are just looking at the outermost points and then connect them para ma-determine yung ating baseline. So ito yung normal baseline, yung nasa figure 1A. Makikita nyo hindi siya mga crack. Madaling ma-determine kung ano yung last or yung outermost islets or islands. So itong figure 1B yan, meron siyang yung contour niya is mahirap So kaya ang gamit ng Pilipinas is straight baseline. So, why are we opposing yung definition ng United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea as regards seawater, as regards archipelagic sea lanes na mag-a-apply sa territorial sea? Important kasi nga kung i-consider yung the water between Sulu and Palawan as territorial sea, then pwedeng i-allow yung proposal nila, archipelagic sea lanes, itong that will run through the parang heart na nga ito although nasa babang portion, run through the heart of the Philippines, di ba? So imagine, kung gagamitin sa normal sea lanes, vessels including submarines can go at the heart of the Philippines, which is a security threat. So, kung yung proposal natin na treatment ng ating internal waters, yung ating territorial sea ay makonsider as internal waters, then itong ASL na to, that will run through the midst of the Philippines, it will not be allowed because, yun nga, like what I have mentioned, ang internal waters and treatment dyan is like landmass. Hindi ka pwedeng dumaan sa gitna ng landmass ng ibang bansa because that will be a breach of security. So, to my knowledge, they allow this ASLs that will run through the middle of the Philippines only lang for commercial vessels belonging to the Philippines. But for vessels belonging to other countries, they will have to go through the longer route, which is yung dinesignate lang natin sa baba ng Pilipinas sa north ng Pilipinas, which is passing through the islets in Batanes. I think that's it na. I will just check the attendance for the last for students who came in after I had checked the attendance kanina. Meron pa bang humabol?